Hello, and welcome to a new episode of The Career Changers. Our guest today is Julie Ulstrup. With 20 years of experience as a school counselor and higher education professional, she works with thousands of individuals to choose careers. Today, we are going to talk about her expertise in Encore coaching, which focuses on individuals transitioning into new life phases, often after retirement or significant career changes. Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Elisa. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
And it's my pleasure. So let's start with your background and your career, first of all. And a question that we ask to all of our guests is, what was your dream job when you were a child?
So, my dream job, I don't know if I could say like when I was a very little child, but when I was young, I really wanted to be a photographer. And that just held so much excitement and so much passion for me. And I didn't know how I could do that and make an impact in the world, because that was another thing that was also very important to me, how I could make an impact, how I could make a difference.
But it was great that you had that awareness from a very young age. And so, what was your relationship with school, and then what do you decide to study after growing up?
I loved school, and I loved school, in fact, so much that I went to school after university while I was working, and I got a master's degree in school counseling. And then I worked in schools. I worked in middle school, high school, and also at the university level. And I always felt comfortable in schools. And yeah, so I have a lot of education.
So, did you have any other first job that was not school related before starting your career, let's say in the educational sector?
When I was in high school, I was a lifeguard, which
Oh,
is an interesting metaphor. But I also worked in sales right out of university, and I realized that I was really good at it. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed having conversations with people. And the way that I always looked at it is that this was a way to serve people. It was a way that I could help them to solve a problem.
that's really interesting. And how did you end up? You were sometimes we really enjoy, we may enjoy doing different things in our life. Did you feel sad to give that up?
Interestingly, I had a position in sales, and the company was sold to a larger company. And I thought, this is a good time for me to try something new. I also had some family changes in my life at that time. And I just mixed things up. I started working, I was living in Colorado at the time, and I had a baby, and I moved to Chicago. And so I did some work in the student services area, and that really clinched this 25 plus year career that I have had in education.
Mm. And so, at what stage of your career did you specialize in Encore coaching? Something that I've never heard before. And
Yeah, well,
I'm really curious
it's
to
one of
know.
those category creators is what I'm looking at. So this has been with just within the last several years, because what I realize is for us as adults who have some experience, I still have, maybe this isn't true for everybody, but have this deep desire to use our gifts and our knowledge and our wisdom to continue to make an impact and an influence, and also have income after having one or many careers. It's interesting because my husband has a career as an engineer. He spent almost maybe over 25 years working as an engineer, and he talks about now he has his second career. I feel like I've had a series of careers, and each one has deepened my depth and breadth of giving back to the world and sharing my gifts.
Mm. So, in your experience, what fears or concerns do clients commonly express when facing in this case, one particular stage of life that is retirement, and how can coaching alleviate these anxieties?
I feel like there's two different parts to that. When in the US, when we look at retirement, often that means quitting work, not doing anything else. And interestingly, Elisa, I had a conversation with a friend last week who has family in Italy. And all of them, after they have left their careers, whether it's a medical career, there were doctors, there were educators, which those are the people who I really serve. They're all still continuing to contribute to their community, whether it's through volunteer work. I specialize in working with people who want to have an entrepreneurial career after successful careers in other service-based organizations.
Yeah, and that makes sense because our job and our career are part of our identities. And for people that have been building their life around careers, it's quite unmanageable to think that at some point they're just going to sit on the sofa. And
And those are the people who I love to work with, people who don't want to sit on the sofa, or as one of my clients says, I'm not the kind of person who wants to sit on the front porch and drink lemonade and watch the world go by. Yeah.
what strategies can you use to help people find their purpose behind their professional roles once they're retired?
Yeah, so you may have heard what most people know, Simon Sinek, and he says start with why. And I have a very strong disagreement with that, respectfully to Simon Sinek, because obviously he's brilliant and he's made a lot of impact. I think for us to really feel satisfaction in our careers, in an Encore career, wherever that is to start with what? What do you want? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what do you love? So I think starting with those what questions is much more empowering for us when we think about those things. And those are the elements of Ikigai, which is a Japanese concept of
Oh, yeah.
really finding our life purpose and serving in that way.
So are you familiar with that concept? Is there something that you use in your coaching? Because I
It
found it quite
absolutely
interesting.
is.
Can you
Mhm.
explain a little bit more about that to our listeners?
Absolutely. So Ikigai is the idea that the intersection, and it's a Venn diagram, so four overlapping circles of doing what we love, what the world needs, what we're good at, and that which you can get paid for. And that's our purpose. And so really helping people to dive into what do you love? And so many times people will answer with things that might be what they think expectations are of them, as opposed to what they really love. If you have a moment, if we have a moment, I can even share a practice that I share with my clients to help them know more deeply what they love. Would that be okay?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. That's really interesting.
Okay. So I have them put their right hand on their heart, and I have my left hand. No, left hand. For women, we put our left hand on our heart. For men, right hand on their heart, because this is the hand for receiving.
Mhm.
And then our other hand on our belly. And if they're comfortable, you can gently close your eyes and take a deep breath in and exhale out. And quietly to yourself, ask the question, what would I love, as you take a deep breath in and exhale out? And then one more time, what would I love in terms of career? Inhale and exhale. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And the reason I have people do this is so often we think in our head. And when we think with our heart and our gut, those are other areas of our knowing. And we can really get centered in what is it that I would love? What is it? And then I follow up with a series of questions and helping people to really get into our knowing, not just in our head, but in our heart and in our gut, as to what is important to us. What would I love in terms of an Encore career? What would that look like? How would that feel?
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really useful and it helps definitely to reconnect with our bodies and our feelings. So I'm sure our listeners will test it and hopefully they can also let us know what is their feedback.
Yeah.
So let's talk about legacy and impact. Many times when we want to change careers or at some point in our lives, this is not really only related with retirement, but for everyone. We are looking for more meaning and we want to give back. So how can Encore coaching help individuals leave a meaningful legacy and also identify which are the most important aspects in a new career?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's really identifying, getting very clear. And that's one of the things that I can help people with. I've been doing this in my consulting and counseling for 25 plus years and helping people get really clear about what's important to you. Because when we look at that through the lens of what is important to us, then that informs what our legacy is. Maybe it is financial. Maybe a person wants to leave a lot of money to their children or a lot of money to a certain organization. Or maybe they want to have an impact on youth in the world, or there's so many different causes. And I think really getting clarity on that gives us the permission to pursue what we really love and what we're really good at.
Mm. And in your experience, have you encountered any clients who want to make a significant impact in their local community during their Encore years? And how did you support them?
Yes, yes, I have clients who want to make global impact, and I have clients who want to make local impact. And so what we start with, as I said, is really getting clear about that and then getting clear with our message. Who do we want to connect with? And how do we want to connect with them? And what is the best way to do that? Again, it's clarity in our brand and clarity in our who we want to serve and how we want to serve. Like you said, do we want to serve locally? Do we want to serve globally? And anywhere in between.
Mm. So let's look at the emotional aspects of a new phase of life. There may be different type of feelings. One may be grief, whether it's retirement grief or maybe if it's the loss of a job or a career. And also maybe after overcoming that, there is a need to rediscover passions. How can you guide your clients towards this process that I guess it can be also painful in some ways?
Yeah, that you bring up a really good point, because I do think that we often don't recognize that it is a loss. It's a change, and oftentimes it's something we've chosen, or maybe it's something that we haven't chosen. And so there's a loss of, I think you alluded to this earlier, our identity, because oftentimes we identify with who we are. What is the job that we do? What is it? How is it that we go into work each day? And so touching on that grief, if there is any, and working through it and resolving it and releasing it with love and with blessing, knowing that we've had an impact and made influence. And now what's next for us? What is the next thing? Using our skills and our wisdom and our knowledge that we can have an impact.
Mhm. And did you meet any clients who actually was regretting not dedicating too much time to their passion or hobbies during their professional lives?
It's interesting. Part of the coaching process through that is if there is that, looking at it and saying all of these things in our life that have come before have served us. Whether somebody did not pursue a passion and kind of waited until they were ready to retire to pursue something, there can be regret and sadness in that as well, but also saying, okay, and yes, and we can't do anything to change the past. We can choose to look at it differently. So maybe we've developed skills and processes and things that we can use to move us forward that will serve whatever our passion is. But really, yeah, coming to terms with that can sometimes be challenging for people.
Mhm. Another aspect that is quite new, let's say, in our society, or at least maybe in the news sometimes, we hear talking about people that retire and that they want to become entrepreneurs. So, have you worked with clients who start businesses or pursue passion projects after retirement? And what challenges and joys do they have to face starting from zero later in life?
Yeah, it's a lot of times having an encore career as an entrepreneur, there's a big learning curve. And we're used to, and I'm going to say this with air quotes, we're used to being experts in our field, maybe.
Yeah.
And so having that openness and that beginner's mind to say, I'm willing to learn something and I'm willing to draw on my experience from my career and really learn something new and embrace that. And that's what keeps us vital and alive, to really continue to learn, because we're learning and growing all the time, and we can choose how we learn and grow. We can choose to, one of my clients said, she's not the kind that's going to sit on the porch and drink lemonade and watch the world go by. We can choose that as an option, or we can choose to look at what we've learned, look at what we still have to offer, and use that in a way that serves with purpose and passion.
Mm. So the world is definitely changing, and there is more support out there for people of any age that have entrepreneurial spirit or that they want to change career, create a new life. But of course, there are societal norms that associate retirement with decline. What new narratives can we create to say a different story and to create a different story in our lives?
Yeah, I love that question. I think there are, yes, there are these norms that have been, a retirement is this, or there's this decline. And I think really defining, what is it that I want? Do I want to be a person of decline, or do I want to be a person who continues to grow? Do I want to have a lifelong passion for growing and learning and becoming the next version of myself? It's that personal and professional development together that really make us stronger and make us grow. So it's that going back to our identity. And I think also one of the things that I've really embraced is looking for others who have this same mentality. Who else are people who are changing careers? And I have a community of people who do that. And so we come together every week and we talk about different mindset and skill sets to come together and get those deep roots and to grow in a really positive and flourishing way.
Mm. Yeah, and the relationship are definitely one of the most important thing to move forward in life, to feel that we are not alone. If we're part of a group, we can feel supported and also motivated. Is there any new trends or innovation coming up about Encore coaching? I think there's going to be more and more people that are not going just to retire and they want to have new careers, new life, become entrepreneurs. So probably lots of opportunities there. I don't know if this is very popular in US, and maybe here we don't use the, I never heard it before, so I find it quite interesting.
And this is what I'm creating because it is a relatively new field. There's a lot of neuroscience and a lot of research that indicates that often our most productive years are between the decades of 50 and 60 and 70. And so starting an encore career in our 50s and our 60s and continuing on well into our 70s, again, there's a lot of research that shows, yeah, this is a really productive time for people. And if we still have, which the people who I work with do, have this desire to continue to be a person of increase, to have more influence, to have more impact, and they want more income as well. I think that can be part of it. There's a meaningful legacy that we create financially, as well as the impact that we leave for others. And mine is to really say, what is it that we can continue to give, and how can we continue to serve to make the rest of our lives the best of our lives?
Mm. And what is, in your opinion, that people can leave behind in those decades of their life? Something that maybe when they're younger was holding them back, or sometimes self-sabotage, or maybe limiting beliefs. Do you think what changes at that point in life?
I think some of it, yes, there are still limiting beliefs. And to your point, there are a lot of societal norms that still say this is an age of declining or whatever it is. And I think the ability to embrace, and there's also, I think, this idea of we care less. It's not that we don't care, but it's we want to do what we want to do and what we're here to do and how we're here to serve. And we care less about the opinions of others and really are saying, yep, I'm going to embrace this. This is what I want and this is what I'm going to do. I have a client who she talks about the naysayers. And when she was young, she had an experience of people saying, you can't do that. You're going to get in trouble. This is too expensive. This is too hard. And sometimes those voices are in our own head. And when we have the experience, we can say to ourselves, I've been through a similar situation before, and I'm still here, and I'm still thriving, and I can do this again. This is what I want. This is what I'm here to do.
Mm. And in your experience, how do usually family members react when someone retires and decide then to become an entrepreneur or to have a new career? Are there some dynamics that usually come up and there is a need to reassess a specific type of balance in the family?
Yeah, that can be very interesting as well. And I think sometimes what happens is that people in the family, they think that they may need to protect somebody, or are you sure you're doing the right thing? And so that's one dynamic of it. Of course, every family has different dynamics, and every family has siblings or children or a spouse that are like, are you sure this is what you want? And sometimes that will help strengthen the person's resolve, because when they have the conversation with the person, they're able to articulate it in a way that says, yes, I really do want this. And sometimes family members are very supportive, and there's everything in between, as you can imagine, just like all of us come from different families that have different ideas and expectations of who we should be and how we should move forward.
Mm. And related to time and when after retirement there is more free time, how can someone balance relaxation with the feeling of staying purposeful, as maybe there may be a tendency to go in one or the other direction?
Yeah, I think it's a choice. I think it's looking at our lives from this lens. If a person has sound financial principles in place, and it's a choice of what is it, how am I going to spend my time? What am I going to do? Just like we do when we're in our 20s and 30s and 40s. However, oftentimes during those decades, there are more things that we believe that we have to do. Whereas sometimes in our 50s, 60s, and 70s, it's more, what do I want to do? What do I want this to look like? How much rest and relaxation do I want to have? How much impact do I want to have?
It's really interesting. And so we are reaching the end of this episode, but we have a few more questions. So first of all, if you could give one piece of advice to someone entering their Encore years, what would it be?
I would say to really take a heartfelt and a gut check of what's important. What is it that I want? What do I love? And what is going to give me a feeling of satisfaction and purpose as I move forward?
And so if anyone would like to reach out to you, where and how they can find you?
So the best place to reach out and schedule a call is julieulstrup.com/chat. And I'm assuming that my name is going to be, as you mentioned, it's a Norwegian name, but you can find julieulstrup.com/chat. And I also have a masterclass coming up that people can attend if they would like. And that's julieulstrup.com/masterclass. So either of those ways would be great ways to reach out to me and connect. And I'm on YouTube, so I offer some success strategies and proven practices on my YouTube channel. And that's Julie Ulstrup on YouTube is the best way to find that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And now the last question. And if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say to my younger self, all of us through our lives have storms, tribulations, things that we struggle with to get through. And I think the biggest advice in all of these years that I've helped people find their first career, find their encore career, find their purpose and their meaning, is knowing that you have a purpose. So I would say to myself, know that you have a purpose and that what you're doing is exactly where you need to be, and looking at what you want is so vital to your happiness as well as the good that you can bring to the world.
Thank you, Julie, so much for joining us today and sharing your inspirational career story and wisdom with our listeners.
Thank you, Elisa. It's just been a delight to get to know you and to talk with you.
And the last message for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and tune in next week for a new inspirational episode of The Career Changers. Thank you.